But first, can I just take a minute to say, well done, Australia. What a resounding victory, a triumph of the common man and common sense over the powerful elite who think they can bully us into submission. And my word, haven't we already seen the glimpses of an almighty mass meltdown among the left? I'll have a few examples of that for you shortly. And yes, Magda does make an appearance. The referendum result was a proud moment for the Australian people who withstood an ugly and well-funded campaign of intimidation, a deeply dishonest and unrelenting campaign to guilt us into backing constitutional change that was racist and offensive in principle and would have been costly with far-reaching consequences if it were ever put into practice. And as we all know, anyone who read the Uluru Statement, anyone who has listened to the authors of the statement make extensive comments over the years about how the Voice would empower them to negotiate a treaty from a position of strength. Even the Prime Minister had pledged to deliver the full Uluru Statement, Voice, Truth-Telling and Treaty. A treaty with our own people. A treaty is something that two nations make with each other. That's partly why the left has stolen that fallacious political term from Canada, First Nations. We've never used that term for the Indigenous community until like 5 minutes ago. The Australian people overwhelmingly rejected the divisive racial politics of the left. They rejected the plan to give the activist class even more power and funding. They rejected the notion of listening to the same powerful voices that have delivered such appalling outcomes for their community. Now it's time to deliver some accountability. Before the Prime Minister hoisted this divisive debate on the nation, many were unaware of what was happening in this sector, the land claims, the Aboriginal heritage laws, the billions spent on closing the gap and failing. What we need now is some measure of accountability, and that's precisely what Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price is pushing for. This lie that the Indigenous people do not have a voice or an advisory body, well, it's just pure nonsense. We have dozens of such advisory bodies already at both state and federal level giving advice on policy development, including the Coalition of Peaks, which represents more than 80 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community-controlled peak and member organisations. We've got the National Indigenous Australian Agency alone. That's got 1,300 employees and a multi-million-dollar budget. And let's take a quick look. This is interesting. Look at the 5 seats with the biggest Indigenous population and how they voted. Now, Lingiari in the Northern Territory, 58% no. They have an Indigenous MP representing them, but they voted no. Durack in WA is 73% no. Leichhardt in Queensland, 67%. Parkes in New South Wales, 79%. And Kennedy in Queensland, 81% no. You may have the affluent Teal seats where people are about as far removed from these issues as humanly possible voting yes, yes in small majorities. But in the seats where Indigenous people actually live, the results are a resounding no. That should tell you something. Now to what you've been waiting for, the yes camp and the mass meltdown we are seeing from our privileged lefties, from Australian cricketers needing counselling to deal with democracy. I don't know, maybe they should go back to taking a knee. That seemed to bring the nation together. And the meltdown is also impacting celebrities, media and political pundits who are emoting wildly all over the internet today. Let's hear from the contributing editor of The Monthly, Rachel Withers, who has this sober analysis. Based on what we are seeing, no will be a victory for racism and conspiracy theories, for neo-Nazis and eugenics. Oh, my God. Confirming for Peter Dutton that misinformation works. The ABC's Jonathan Green posted this considered remark. F Australia? I mean, seriously? What the F? How can you say no? Writer and TV producer Cara Schleck offered this charming take. F today, F this country, saying no to First Nations recognition on the same day we enabled the ethnic cleansing of an entire people. I have never felt more ashamed to be Australian. Oh, of course you are, love. I do wonder what the Venn diagram of those who are anti-Israel and pro-voice looks like. I don't know, maybe Kamala can help us figure that one out.
I think we know.
Now, alleged comic Magda Szubanski offered this to all our beautiful First Nations people. My heart goes out to you tonight. I wish this had been different. Please know that there are millions of us who love and treasure and support you, that we hear your voice and we will continue to walk with you. Broken heart emoji. Thank you emoji. More emojis. That sounds a lot like Magda telling Indigenous folk that only those who voted yes support them. How very unifying. And let's end with the ABCs and the Australians, Phillip Adams, who can always be relied upon to be the adult in the room. He wrote, LNP announces a piano with only white keys.
Very clever.
Okay, maybe not. Those who want to use this result to paint Australia as racist and unsympathetic to the Indigenous community should be ignored. They are not serious people. They do not act in good faith. They are the same destructive activist class who relentlessly push far-left agendas no matter what. Ignore them and be proud of a country that voted for equality.